That was lovely. Unfreeze, refreeze. Oh, I think my computer's having the third. Flight, fight, freeze. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Be nice. Power of words. Last week it was ideas, and then once we've had the idea, then we try to find a word to put around the idea. Words can be fun, and as you also heard in that song, words can also hurt sometimes too. We have to be really careful how we use our words, particularly when we're talking to little kids, and how we try to help them out. You know, the little boy was saying to his dad, "Dad, can I go to the bathroom?" And the father said, "May I go to the bathroom?" To which the kid responded, "But I asked first." You know, I had a roommate years ago who was an atheist, and he was also dyslexic and somewhat of an insomniac. Would you like to finish that for me? You know, I was thinking of having a party where, tangent early. I was thinking of having a party where the only thing that would happen was people would just throw out punchlines, and then you'd have to figure out what the joke was. See, so to that one, he would stay up all night wondering whether there was really a dog.
It's kind of like Karnak.
Yeah, right. But, you know, words can be fun. You know, they can be fun. And they also can be confusing. Like, what really happens if you're scared to death, if you're scared half to death twice? Like, are you done? You know? So they can be really confusing. You got to be really careful. You're out of here. Sorry, dude. You're done. Twice today, you're done. That's it. You're over, you know? But then there's the other side of the words where you've got this thing that, like, when people say, they'll say something to you and they go, you know, I'm just joking. Or the one that really gets me all the time is, can I be honest with you? Yeah. Right? And you know, I mean, there are others that are like that. What are some others I have here? Trust me. Yeah, trust me. I always get to say, for you. This is for your own good. You know? Right? Can I be frank? No. Don't. Don't. You know? It's tough. Dr. Holmes says that the word is a mold which decides what form the thought is to take as it assumes shape and becomes part of our conditions. So as we use our words and we think about what conditions we're shaping up for our lives, it gives us some pause to really be careful. And when you get a great idea, like we're talking about that idea power, when you get a great idea, do you want to put a sloppy word to that idea? You want to be really careful. Mark Twain says that the difference between the right word and the almost right word is like the difference between lightning and a lightning bug, right? And think about that. You want the word to be totally fitting and be fitting of what it is that you're trying to talk about. And so this is what I'm talking about, the choices that your words are using. Because if you're very clear and you get some clarity around your choice, then you're going to be able to give an idea. And as John was saying in his reading for Dr. Holmes, as we understand from our teaching of the science of mind, there is something always listening. You know, God's got the biggest ears in the world, and we live in the biggest room in the world, which is the room for improvement. And so every time that we're thinking about something and the universe is listening to that something, we're giving instructions to that law on how it's going to shape our lives. So we need to be very careful about the choices and make sure that we are putting a lightning bolt to our desires rather than a lightning bug. And if you've ever been in the Midwest and caught lightning bugs in a jar, that's really fun, but then when you wake up in the morning, they're all at the bottom of the jar. You don't want to kill your ideas by just lighting it up with a lightning bug. You want it to take fire. I mean, think of what happened to Ben. I'm surprised Ben Franklin even stuck around to tell what happened if he did the key with the thing and the electricity. That was stupid. But but we found out something right? See, the other thing about words is words, as they create the shape or the container, words end up marking the limits of whatever condition or idea that we have. So when if you're gonna put some limits on something, you want to make sure that you've defined those limits and those boundaries in a wonderful way. And limits and boundaries, we sometimes in Science Mind and New Thought, we give a hard time about limits and boundaries. I'm here to tell you that limits and boundaries are a very good thing. Without limits, think about the belly. Right? It would just boom, 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 boom. We definitely want to have some limits. In fact, I used to say that I was part of the ever-expanding universe because I thought that was something good for my consciousness, and then I realized it was not very good for my belly because it just kept growing too. That's why I wear nice ballooning shirts. You think I'm thin. Sorry about that. TMI. Keep talking. Yes. The other thing about words, because we're talking about spirit, we're talking about the law. We're talking about love and law combining together. And it's really not love and law. It's actually love operating through law. That's really what it is. We've got that kind of mixed up. And if you read Holmes carefully, you'll see that that's what he's really talking about. He's talking about there is a connection between the two. There's not one and the other standing on the other side of a word called and. It's love operating through the law. And if we want our words to become an instrument instructing spirit, if we want our words to become an instrument as smooth as Andy plays the keyboard, as beautiful as Carol sings the notes, as great as Steve plays his guitar, then we want to make sure that we're putting a symphony of letters together to create the right concepts that are instructing the law in just the right way so that we get a nice orchestra in our lives on the other side of it. Paul, in his letters to the Corinthians, I haven't been in the Bible in a while. I thought I'd throw some Bible at you today. And here's this line that he says here. I'd rather speak 5 words with my understanding than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue. That unknown tongue is when you haven't gotten your idea together with your thoughts. If you're living in that space of mixed concepts, if you're thinking, this is what I want for my life, but maybe I don't deserve it, or I'm feeling lightly unworthy, or in the past I tried it and it didn't work, why am I going to try it again? If you're getting into that space, you're down here in the unknown tongue. Go with what you understand. Understand that there's a world out here that's always looking to improve. Remember last week, everything can be done over again. They're constantly remaking things. If you don't believe that, ask any producer in Hollywood. They will tell you, right? Have you ever seen a new movie in Hollywood, really? No, it's just the same story redone. I think the Greeks or somebody came up with there's 7 plots in that. Okay, I know. And they just keep doing it, man versus nature, man versus woman, all that. That's it. That's all that goes on. Or if you listen to Joseph Campbell, he tells you there's only one story, and that's the hero's journey, and we're all taking it. And we're all heroes in our own journey. You may not see yourself as a hero, but you are. You are the starring character in your role, in your film in life. I got a good friend, and every time she sees you, she says, "Love your story." That's her greeting. Hey, good to see you. Love your story, John. Love your story, Leslie. That's just a wonderful way of thinking about it, that you have a lovely story, and you're the hero of that story. How are you going to write it? What words are going to be in your script? This is what it's all about. And are there going to be words of your own understanding, or are you going to talk gobbledygook and have the critics say that your story's not that great? You don't want that. You want to mark the limits of your domain in a wonderful and positive way. You want to put power behind your words, because see, if your consciousness is great and your understanding of what you're wanting is great, you add more oomph to the power of the universe. There's this word power, but this word power is amplified by the clarity of thought, by the conditions that you describe with most precise way possible. And here's the thing. It's not just, I know I'm talking a lot about the words, but see, the reason I'm talking about the precision of the word is then you get this triangle happening. You have an idea, you put a word to it, you put the right word to it, then it feels good. It lands on the heart really well. And when it's feeling good, then the universe is ready to work on that, because as I've told you many times before, the universe doesn't really even speak English or Spanish or Russian or Dutch, believe it or not. Sorry, I'm just saying, Frederick, Johanna, Ik jou van hou to both of you, but it just does not. It speaks the language of feeling, of intentionality, That's the tonal thing. That's blasting out there a lot faster. When we sent that energy of love out into the universe, the energy preceded even the words that were coming out of our mouths. When you walk into a room, how many times have you said, that person just has a great vibe? You think their vibe was talking to you? Like the vibe, I'm a vibe. No, it was like, it was vibrating onto you, you know? So that's why I'm saying if you get the right word, you're sending out the right vibe, and then the universe is ready to respond to that and to give you exactly what you're looking for. You see, words are like rivers and roads. That's the highway that the Spirit travels. It travels on your words. Not, you know, so that's why I'm pushing this idea. Christian De Quincey, one of the teachers we had at Holmes Institute, who just, every time you read something here, it's just like, oh man, I got to sit down for a couple hours. But he has this one thing that's really lovely that I liked. The way we use words shows the way we use our minds. Right? How many times, you know, I've talked about this before, the traffic thing. You're sitting in heavy traffic. This is the worst traffic I've ever been in my life. And suddenly the traffic gets even worse. And then the two cars in front of you start holding hands, you know. And then a semi pulls up alongside of you, and you're blocked in, right? But if you're sitting in the traffic and you're thinking, I just love this audiobook that I downloaded today. And, oh, it's so nice that I got my windows cleaned by that kid on the corner that I said, you know, here's $1, clean my windows, no problem. And now I'm seeing everything, and it looks really good, and you're driving on the 405, and you think you're on the 118, and you know what I'm saying, right? And we totally know that they are not the same highway, but you can have the same experience on both highways by how you use your mind in relation to what's going on. Have I told you the dog can't swim story about perspective? I haven't told you the dog can't swim story? This Central Texas friend of mine was going out of town, and he said, Bob, would you take care of my dog? The only thing you have to do is you got to take the dog down to the lake and take him for a walk every day and throw the stick because he likes to play fetch. And so he says, okay. So he takes the dog down to the lake, and he's a little worried because, you know, he has to take him off the leash, and he's caring for somebody else's dog. And that's the worst thing to happen, is to have the dog run away while you're taking care of him. But he says, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to trust. So he takes the dog off the leash, and he throws the stick, and the dog runs, not too far, just far enough, and the dog runs and gets the stick and brings it back and sets it down. That's pretty cool. So he's getting a little braver now. He throws it a little farther, and the dog goes and gets the stick, and he runs back, and he drops it down. That's really neat. So this time, he's like heaving it, and it gets caught by the wind, and the stick floats out and lands in the water, and the dog takes off running. And when he gets to the water, he just keeps on running right on the top of the water. And he gets a stick and he brings it back, and the guy goes, whoa. So this time he, like, on purpose takes the stick and he heaves it out over to the water. And the dog does the same thing. He takes off and he runs across the top of the water, and he gets the stick and he runs back and he drops it down. And he's like, I got to show this to somebody. And just at that time, a guy walking toward him has a TAMU shirt on. TAMU is Texas A&M University. That's the Aggies. I don't know if any Texans in the house, but you know there's only two universities. There's the University of Texas and Texas A&M. The smart people and the Aggies. What? You know? So, so here's this Aggie coming toward him, and he says, check this out. And he throws it, and the stick goes out over the water, and the dog doesn't run on top of the water thing, and he comes back and he puts it down. And he says, what do you think of that? And the Aggie goes, that dog can't swim. I present to you Christian De Quincey, right? How perspective, you know, and your words and how you use the words could be so important. I had a friend, Moses and I, one of my best friends, and we were sitting around talking. I guess this talk has been brewing for a long time. We were talking about words. We were talking about the things people say. And when somebody says, taste this. Why? Look at your face, right? So about a year later, we're sitting in my yard, and about a couple weeks before that, we had made a salad. Well, maybe a few weeks more earlier than that. But anyway, we made a salad, and we had taken some wisteria flowers and put them in the salad. Wisteria comes from the pea family. It's a very tasty flower, right? Well, now it's later in the season, and it's got these seed pods on it. And we're thinking, whoa, these seed pods, they look so meaty. I wonder how they might taste. You know, we could roast them and maybe have them. And Moses takes one, and he takes a bite off of it, And he goes, taste it. I take a bite, and my hand is like this, and I look up, and there's tears rolling out of Moses' eyes, and he's looking like, but it's too late. It's like, and he falls out. He says, you remember, taste this. I was like, oh my God, right? Do not eat the seed pods of wisteria. The buds are fine, the flowers are fine, but the pods are poisonous. And it was like putting alum on your tongue. My whole tongue just went, it was God. So we're both just like tears rolling down our eyes, looking for somebody. Who can we get to eat one of these seed pods? There's such power in your words. And there's such power in how you use them. And this power is within you to create the life that you desire, a life that fills you with the joy that we've just been experiencing, right? Even in the midst of some of the sadness that we've also been experiencing. And the flip can be just that fast because of how you have this power within you to create an idea, to change the pattern of your life, and put some love on that idea, and have it outpicture as the life that you choose. It's just that simple, and it's just that absolutely loving. As I said, it's about the feeling. You know, we have all these external conditions that are constantly telling us what's going on, and telling us that we're not right about this or that or the other. And then the brain, and the chatter in here. The chattering monkeys are just absolutely crazy in my head sometimes. I don't know about yours. If you figured out how to conquer the chattering monkeys, please send me an email. Let's talk about it. I welcome that encouragement. I do practice what I call the SPA, which helps a lot. SPA stands for soar, percolate, and apply. To take the teachings, to take these ideas that we're talking about and just think about them and let them carry me forward, right? Let me just soar with those ideas and then percolate, think about that, contemplate that a little bit, and then go out and apply it in my life. And things do tend to get a little bit better when I practice my word power that way. Because there's always this greater power that's working, and it's working, as I said, based on our feelings. We talk about the science of mind, but and it comes from that very idea of science, of practicing this faith system like it's a science. Now, if a physicist was doing an experiment in the lab, he would have all of his protocols and procedures written down, and he'd have all of his test tubes and everything, and then beakers and Bunsen burners all set, and he would check every single one, and he'd have a checklist, and he'd go off of that, and then he would go out and do the experiment. Do we do that with our mental activity, or are we just haphazardly bouncing through the day? We have the ability to be that conscious about the way we think and the things that we do, and when we get into the practice of doing it, it becomes very automatic, and you don't have to think about it so hard. It just happens, and you're just like, wow, life's just good. People say, how you doing? I'm great, and you mean it. It's not some platitude. It's the truth of your life. Dr. Holmes says, man's word, our word. Oh, and I'm going to start doing this. In all deference to Dr. Holmes, I love him, but he wrote at a time when it was man and him, and so we're going to start doing this. Are you okay with that? Yeah. Okay. So, our word is creative, but you can, if you're old school, you could just put him and he in there. Our word is creative, not because we will or wish it to, but because this is the nature of our being. See, the nature of our being, God is creative, and the nature of our being is God. Therefore, we are creative. We can't help it. We're doing it all the time. So I'm just saying, let's get conscious about how we do it. We're doing experiments all the time with life. Let's get conscious about the experiments that we bring into our lives. And in so doing, we'll have a more joyous experience of life. Unless you start thinking, oh man, there's so much pressure. Don't feel no pressure, folks. It's a graceful universe, and time is unlimited. There's so much time. Huh? I know. We received a dinner gift from Tony and Evelyn recently, and it was a plant of time, and it was on the table. And at the end of the talk, she says, "Take a pinch off and then rub it on your hands. Now you have time on your hands." Isn't that sweet? So I encourage everyone, maybe we'll have the youth church plan us up some time so we can all have a time plan to take home and so we can always have time on our hands. Because I want you to know that it may be a little challenging sometimes when you put these ideas into your mind and start to make them work, you know. It takes a minute before it happens. That's okay. Now, sometimes it's automatic, but usually it takes some work because it took work to get us to where we are. I mean, I see some young folks here today, bless you, but if most of us, we have been into the habits that we've been doing for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. So it may take some time to flip the switch and turn it in the other direction. But we're all willing because we're all here. We're all here. Dr. Holmes had a ditty that he used to say. He said, I used to think I knew, but now I must confess, the more I know the less. Right? And if we're in that space, understand that there's a grace that will allow us to learn to know more and to experience more each and every day. It's a new day anyway. It's a fresh canvas every day. Life is unfolding perfectly always. It's just sometimes we haven't rounded the curve to see the completed circle that God has drawn as the goodness of our lives. So we have the space and we have the grace. We can always transcend any previous condition we've had in our lives to a better experience. So if you're stuck in an experience and it seems like it's repeating and it's like Groundhog Day, know that you can flip the switch and change the script. You have the power to do that, the idea power to do that, the power to change your patterns, the love within you to make it happen, and then the words to apply to the law to bring it about as your experience. Dr. Holmes says, in our use of the science of mind, we must never feel that the last word has been spoken. No final word will ever be spoken. Right? And we all have friends that prove that. We all do. It's like, yes, You know the friend where it's always and then yeah. That's okay. It's good. Yeah, you don't say. You don't say. Mark remembers. So I just encourage you, as we recap the week of the month a little bit. Remember, we talked about the patterns. You have the ability to change the patterns in your life. We have the love within us that we can apply to this desire to change. We have the ideas that are always percolating, popping up like popcorn in our brains. And now we have the words that we can use to switch that around. So, in the words of the song that was sung today, remember who you are and do it now. And so it is. Had a brain. I love that. So let's close with our affirmation. Here we go again. Now it has a little more oomph to it because you understand where it's coming from, right? So here we go. The words I use inspire, illumine, and instruct the creative power of spirit within me, bringing to life the intentions of my heart and of my mind. And so it is. Time for the healing prayer. There's this divine power that is our life, that is the very essence of who and what we are. It is constantly pushing forward for a bigger and deeper expression of itself through each and every one of us. And how blessed we are to have that constant urge calling us forward into our greatness with each and every breath. And so in this time together, I just affirm that process as unfolding perfectly for each and every person here. Whatever challenge may be in your life is simply an opportunity for more God to show up through your life as you and as the ones you love and hold dear in your hearts. And so we allow that infinite possibilities of actualities unfolding in perfection to be realized right now through the expression of these words spoken here. So I know that it's showing up as right relationship and perfect health and finances completely wrapped up and solid, money to spare and money to share. gifts to give everywhere. I just feel a divine presence moving through this room right now that is animating and illuminating each and every one of us. How good it is to be here in this space at this time with the people that we live around, that support and uplift us in so many wonderful ways. When you look upon a person and you think of a challenge, maybe even the person itself is a challenge, just look a little deeper and see the God within them. And as you affirm that truth of who they are, you will feel the shift of that person in your life. It's a simple process. It only needs to be applied with faith and conviction. And so I speak that word of conviction and faith for each and every person here now, knowing that it will not return unto thee void, but it will be experienced as the truth of your life. For this good, I am so grateful that I now release this prayer into a perfect law that has heard our feeling, intentional tone, matched it with the words, and then brings it out as the experience of our lives this day, now, and so it is.